Hey guys, Wolvie here. This is a rework analysis, quote unquote, extravaganza for the City of Final Fantasy Opera Omnia Global, and this is going to be on Layle and Sephiroth. So, what I'm going to be doing here is just go over like certain highlights, of the reworks for both Layle and Sephiroth. For Layle, this came alongside the debut of both his LD and burst weapon. Sephiroth is a returning burst weapon and LD alongside Paladin Say-So, FYI. However, with Sephiroth, with the rework also comes the it going live on global, the character enhancement board section for the LD. So that's a little FYI. So I will have Tomberry Troop and the Sandy.the.tabby website information in the description below. This is going to be the last ever rework analyses series for this section of the channel. Like I said, I do need to reiterate, I will be leaving the game for good no later than a few weeks, so just a little heads up on that. A little hint of our reasoning is so much in your real life stuff going on, that sort of thing. Nothing related to the game. But anyway, with the Reworks Analysis series up to this point, it's going to be, the good, the bad, that sort of thing. And I think I did this with some of the other, the other video that I had. It's filmed, not yet posted, with Strago and Lightning, that character analyses, character spotlight video. So I did what could go on, I did break the rule, not doing any more rework stuff like that, but now it's now I have my thoughts a little bit more clear, that sort of thing. With that all out of the way, the usual disclaimer applies. Any opinion in this video is my opinion only. Before I get into the reworks, the meat of this particular video, I will do a separate video log. I should film that in a few days, just go over the direction of the channel. It's going to affect DFFOO, all that stuff, what I'm going to be doing for the foreseeable future until things get sorted out on my end. So anyway, we're going to jump into the rework analyses video here for Layle and Sephiroth, Let's go over some highlights, all that good stuff. So I will be right back. Layle from Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles. Yes, he does get a rework. I don't know if it's his first or second rework, but this comes along with his 8080 Awakening, alongside the debut of his burst and LD weapons. He is a main character. For those of you who remember that token exchange that corresponded with the Dimensions in Order, which was a much easier, that sort of thing, where you had certain characters who you exchange your tokens for their EX weapon. I remember this one, I actually got Yuna's EX weapon that way. But that's just my thing. So for Layle, he does not get any additional uses. He also does not get any means to conserve skill uses. With that being said, you'll notice that he inflicts a debuff. It's a silver frame. For any debuff that is silver frame, it's harder to remove, but it is removable. So little heads up on that regard. So it's one of those things where he has a silver framed debuff, flicks on all enemies. I'm not so sure if it's every wave. I do have to double check that. But I know you see it, you at least see it right out of the gate. So, with that bit out of the way, he also has AoE HP damage of some capacity in Skill 1. You don't see in Skill 2, however, you do see the AoE HP damage in both the LD and the LD and as well as the finishing burst move. Now, with that bit out of the way, he does have some, and the thing is with Skill 2, it's easier for people, makes opponents who are launchable, it's easier on that. Now, what do I like about this particular rework? What I don't like? And, the question is, does he need his LD and burst? Now, what I particularly enjoy about this Layle's rework in this case is that he has an easier time to launch enemies. Meaning that, granted, you could do the Kais Layle combination. However, I don't feel Kais is going to be as necessary if Layle is on the same team, because now that Layle has an easier time to launch, Kais isn't as necessary. And I kind of refer to that whole team composition aspect because, again, with skill 2 here, now Layle has an easier time to launch enemies. So, and he has more ways to go about, more means to go about in the sense of like the number of skills to do so. The only thing I really don't like about this particular rework, again, he doesn't have the means to conserve skill uses. Although I went into a recent co-op, and I'm not so sure if it was Layle or I had Kais on mine that I was using. And it turns out if you have like somebody paired up with Onion Knights, yeah, there's a bit of a workaround. The reason why I bring up Onion Knight is that Onion Knight does have the means to help with skill use conservation, because you pop off Onion Knight's LD, you get their free skill use, and it does help a decent deal. So it's one of those things, if you have Layle, perhaps arguably your best bet here, like for Layle's like call ability, would have to be Onion Knight to help conserve skill uses. And you have to make sure that the Onion Knight you have, like as your call unit, has the LD at the bare minimum. So that's the whole thing right there. And magic, because team composition for Layle, because he deals magic damage, is that he has to have like an enchant and peril person on the team, and the enchant has to affect the entire party. Meaning that Raijin, if you're looking for thunder, Celeste for ice. I had to figure out, I had to look into like the other elements, fire, holy, that sort of thing. I think Paladin Stasil is holy, that sort of thing. So those are just a few examples of like units who are able to enchant a certain element to the entire party, and can do the enchant to the, and that way it helps like override certain things. So outside of that, it's just like, he is one of those characters who I feel he needs both his burst and his LD. Because again, he has no means to really conserve skill uses, and if you're very careless, he will run out of steam. Now we're going to go into Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII. Now, what does his rework entail? Now, granted, when it comes down to the debut, it going live, the LD extension to his character enhancement board, this is where his rework shows up. It's actually his first, so he does have a lot more means for AoE HP damage, which really is useful for crowd control. That's one of those things he has going on right now with this first rework. Now, with that bit out of the way, when you start to fight, he actually has a gold framed debuff. Now, gold framed debuffs versus silver framed debuffs is that you cannot remove the gold framed debuffs under any circumstances, which is especially useful if you have Little Ferret on the team with you, aka Sarah. Now, the reason why I bring Sarah into this equation with the gold frame debuff is because, again, you cannot remove the gold frame debuffs under any circumstances. This goes into certain artifact passives Sarah has. And by certain passives is that if you're 3 out of 3 with Sarah's cursed arts, in the sense of the pairings, like not only the moonlight, the more uses of her skill to moonlight, but also where it's like, I believe it's attack and max brave boost. Guess what happens? Sephiroth actually amplifies Sarah, and in turn, Sarah amplifies everybody else. So Sarah actually, with the result with this particular rework, and this is outside the 2 more uses of skill 2 Octo Slash, is that Sarah and Sephiroth actually complement each other, because With Sephiroth's EX ability, it is based on magic. And with Sarah, part of her skill set is magic. So those two really complement each other well because of the Go Frame debuff. With that being said, is that Sephiroth, like Sarah, and I do have to kind of bring this up, they both would need some format of elements, enchant on their team, but for the reason of, where it's like certain types of damage, if it's not elemental, you're SOL. Now, the thing is with Sarah, she kind of is hurt by that case alone. Same thing for Sephiroth because, hey. Now, what's really good is that the compliment is like they still stay true, where it's like you pop off the EX, you get a free skill usage afterwards, so that sort of thing. Now, Sephiroth, like Layle, does need everything because the low number of uses of the LD, which is, I believe, at 3 without the it's 3 without the burst weapon, 4 with. So, unfortunately, comes down to some aspects of composition that both helps and hurts Sephiroth, as well as, certain other aspects such as, how do I want to say this? I think he could benefit from more skill uses. So we're going to go back to Layle, and if he were to get another rework, where would this go? Now, he does need I wouldn't say, he does need, more ways for AoE HP damage, but it's more uses of the skill set. And not only that, but he also could really benefit from having some means of skill use conservation. Meaning that you pop off something and you get free skill usage afterwards, or alternatively, he starts off the quest with the free skill usage, excluding the LD. The reason why he needs something along those lines is because the same thing with bards. It's like you don't have the means right now to serve skill uses. And that's something he's going to need for longer term fights, or fights that last a long time. He's going to need something to conserve skill usage, and the things with the damage output, that's something Layle could benefit from it as well. Now, for Sephiroth, what could improve here with his with a rework, another rework, I should say. Now, more skill usage, skill 1, skill 2, maybe another use of the LD ability, because again, he does need his burst weapon for the sake of the fact that he doesn't have many skill uses to begin with, and even when you pop off the EX weapon, it may come too late. So it's one of the things, like, if you reduce the ability to micromanage the number of skills Sephiroth has, that's even great. And, there's not much else I can really say. So, what I'm going to be doing, after this, I'm going to, so that's that on this. So just to do a quick recap for Layle, I don't think he got a good deal with this particular rework, outside the AoE HP damage for skill 1. I feel it's a little bit more minor than we think. And he could have benefited from free skill usage, that sort of thing. With that being said, he can benefit from more skill usage or some format of skill use conservation. Although he is a lot easier to launch things, he doesn't have to rely on Kais as much as in the past. Regarding Sephiroth, I do feel that with this being his first rework, he actually got a better deal than Layle. And with that, more skill usage, more means to crowd control. He works well with Sarah, because again, with Sarah, she is a member of the Cursed Six, and the fact that he has a gold framed debuff, that plays very well into her passives. That means he can dish out a lot more damage. But then again, it's like you have to be careful a little bit with skill usage as well as team composition, because although he's not an elemental person, if an element is like a weakness and the type of damage Sephiroth does isn't going to cut it, he's going to be needing an elemental enchanter for the entire party. Now, the only thing he could really benefit from, if I were to go for another rework, would probably be more skill usage and improved damage output. That's the only thing I could really see. Because it's like what he brings to the table now is pretty damn good, and again, he works well with Sarah because it plays into her passives. That actually improves him even more in turn. So with this, I'm actually done with this video. Before I sign off, I will be working on the final video for this section of the channel. So I'm not removing the channel altogether. It's just the section I will no longer be doing videos for. That sort of thing. So I'm going to be needing at least a few days on that. That way I can get all my thoughts together. So with that, I am now done with Wolf here signing off. I will catch you all on the flip side.